Ooh. Hi.
Oh, crap.
Hello, people. Oh, jeez. There's my voice. Hello.
Coming on my TV? What in the world? Give me a second.
Oh, geez.
Well, if
Just a
you
little bit.
you boom, you gotta boom like a god, you know. Listen to me, peasants, that sort of thing. Okay. Why does it say February 1st?
Because it's February 1st.
It's not. It's still January 31st.
Time's
Nah,
over.
damn Americas. No, no, it's February 1st for the rest of the world.
Not where it matters. Not where it matters.
I'm pretty sure the place that literally has Hobbiton is the only place in the world that matters.
That's I don't know what that is.
You cannot top that. Oh boy. So this is by Thunderfoot?
Yeah, me neither.
Who knows? Maybe at this point he might have an OnlyFans account too.
Wait, he has a separate Patreon account?
What was that noise? Who needs ears?
Hello YouTube, so today I'm going to make my predictions.
Yes. Yes, I
Yes.
As to why I think the Starship is not going to work, and it's not because today Elon Musk there was this, someone asked him how they actually going to operate there was this someone asked him how they actually going to operate the cargo bay doors, Hal, and he said this is a subject of much debate at SpaceX, not the sort of thing that you want to hear if this is meant to be delivering people to the moon in like 2 years or something. It's not because of that.
Stop there. Yeah.
Cargo bay.
That's not going to be the door for HOS.
Moon.
Yeah, it's like What the hell are you saying? It makes no sense at all. It's just, yeah. And it's not like they don't know how to make hatches for people. I mean, they have the Crew Dragon capsule. Hey, hello. It's like, yeah. But he's talking about the HLS,
It's
right?
not because
Yeah. Which is totally different.
The continually postponed deadlines. So the Tesla semi was going to be in 2019, delivered, guaranteed. Musk, absolutely certain. Order it now.
I want to
get
make a
the
remark
truck
there.
in 2019.
This is a Starship. We don't care about Tesla. Jesus fucking. Basically. Yeah. You just gotta look at Boeing
If it does end up slipping,
to see that
like,
it's not
welcome
SpaceX
to
only.
space development everywhere.
Yep.
Didn't happen. Then it was going to be 2020. That didn't happen either. Then it was going to be 2021, and that was postponed as well. Now it is 2022 we were going to get it. That's just been postponed as well. Now the Tesla Semi is 2023, along with a Roadster and everything else. No, absolutely. He's really certain about it this time. And it's also, I think, the 9th year in a row that he's promised Tesla full self-driving. But that doesn't enter into this at all as to why I think Starship's going to fail. So yeah, these are going to be my broad brush criticisms of Starship. And we're going to start off with
one part
something
only. Come on, you gotta do 3. 22 minutes. 22 minutes only. Come on, you need an hour and a half.
It's because he's not capable.
Seriously.
I still think Hyperloop's
Sexy.
going to show up.
That was actually fairly decent, which was the skinny little precursor, which was
What are you
whatever
drawing?
Falcon
Again.
9. Actually, a perfectly decent rocket.
Why is there an
It's a
accent
sort of,
on the C?
two-stage to orbit. It's basic.
It's the Falcon. It's the yeah. It's a Spanish.
Oh, okay. Yes.
No, I mean,
Exactly the same
in
rockets they were
Spanish it's with
using
with
in the
also with a tilde or whatever.
1970s, but
Yeah.
with updated engines. And even according to SpaceX themselves, this is not a reusable rocket.
Oh.
No reuse. No reuse. According to SpaceX themselves. So SpaceX were promising that the Falcon, they didn't really consider something to be reusable until you could just land it, put more fuel in it, and launch it again within 24 hours. Until then, it wasn't reusable. And so, according to Glenn Shotwell herself, the Falcon 9 isn't really a reusable rocket. Now, you might say, well, okay, not like that. And not in terms of price either. They were promising, currently a launch of this thing is whatever, $60 million. And if you reuse it,
Well, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
That looks better. Okay. You should be able to hear me now. I'm getting audio on Streamlabs. Yep, thank you for pointing that out. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay, perfect. We're good to go.
Save about 10%. Well, when SpaceX were pitching this thing originally, they were saying that, if reusability really works out, they'll be looking at $6 million. And, maybe they save 10%. Always a bit difficult to tell because the finances of these things are, there's a lot of government subsidy that goes on with all rocket launch companies. So it's actually fairly grey whether even the Falcon
What?
9 has achieved.
It's so hard to
anything.
contain right now.
Even
All of that is just.
What I had to say about the Falcon 9 not reusable. Okay, I'm going to go back about a minute and a half or so. Just to the start of this Falcon 9 section.
The skinny little precursor, which was whatever the Falcon.
Sorry.
9. Actually, a perfectly decent rocket in its own right. It's a sort of 2-stage to orbit. It's basically exactly the same rockets they were using in the 1970s, but with updated engines. And
No,
not really.
No,
Gas generator kerosene, same thing.
not even close.
So yeah, what? Well, okay. So what were they using in the 70s? That was mainly Titan. Is that a comparable?
Titan, Atlas.
Well, Atlas Centaur, Titan,
Yeah.
Scout. Oh, there's Delta, the lettered deltas, and they switched over to the numbered deltas.
So yeah.
I swear there's one more.
So no, not really the same. It's not just the engines. Obviously, there's been huge advancements in avionics,
first of all,
making that smaller.
One of the things that I can point out, for example, is friction stir welding.
Yeah, no, that's a very big one.
It was developed for
aluminum lithium. No, the external tank wasn't.
Well, that wasn't
friction.
I thought the later external tank was friction stir welded.
I don't think so. I think it's now
is.
the core stage of the SLS. It is friction stir welding, but I don't think the ET was.
Yes, it was. I've seen the friction. They have one at Kennedy, I think, or here at the Space and Rocket Center. They actually have a friction stir welding setup. Yeah. They have one at the museums. The friction. Well, no, for the museums they have them. Those are used for the external tank.
Let me look it up.
Yeah.
Carbon composite fairings is another one.
That too.
Carbon composite in general.
3D printing of engines.
Oh, okay. So it was on the latest upgrade to the ET.
Yeah, let's talk about the Cybertruck again. Okay.
This really seems like another surface level understanding thing. I mean,
graduation from SLU.
A phallic shaped thing that has flames at the bottom that really hasn't changed.
Now, okay, this is the thing that's really frustrating about Thunderfoot. He's obviously really smart. Like, and the videos he made on Apollo 13, for example, were really, really good. But then he just fumbles and trips at SpaceX. And I think the reason is because it's got Elon Musk at the head of it. Which is it is quite sad that he can be so intelligent on some things and then just completely trip.
He did the same with Dragon as well, didn't he?
What do you mean?
They copied the Apollo command module.
Yeah, again,
it's a capsule.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna carry on.
That is also bullshit. Okay.
Yeah, even though according to SpaceX themselves, this is not a reusable rocket. No reuse. According to SpaceX themselves.
Well, yeah, but according to the people online that I watch religiously, like Jeranism, they're not reused; they're just thrown in the ocean because space is safe.
And then
Kiwi,
they put a balloon
can
up.
you show this
Where did you
on
send
screen
it?
or something?
Don't send it to me on Discord,
I'm
because to
literally
tab into Discord, I have to mute the whole site. I will show it though.
section.
Okay.
And the first thing that it shows is first orbital class rocket capable of free flight. I mean, if that isn't reusable for you, man,
Well, no,
I don't know what.
SpaceX
But
is saying, it's not reusable.
Yep, reflight's not the same.
It's a reuse,
No.
like from the website. Falcon 9 is a reusable two-stage rocket designed and manufactured by SpaceX, blah, 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 all the... But it's like, the first thing that it says, it's precisely that. But even SpaceX says it's not reusable.
I think they're talking about the time someone asked Shotwell, when do you consider that you've actually completely nailed reusability or completely mastered it? And she said, yeah, if we reuse both stages and we can turn around in 24 hours, that doesn't mean it's not reusable now.
Well, that will be a long way to go for Phil, right? To justify his claim here, I think. I don't think he has such a level of understanding.
It was it was on Twitter a while back. I could look for it when they were talking about that.
Yeah, but you know what I meant.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I've returned. I somehow have more viewers. I somehow have more viewers now than when I left. So I guess me not talking is a good thing. Okay, who have we still got? Who's still here?
I'm still here.
Still here.
Still here. Okay.
We're all still here.
Awesome. Okay, I will continue in that case.
So SpaceX were promising.
Oh right, sorry. That was so. I think what he's talking about here is Gwen Shotwell said with reuse. It was in the year when SpaceX was trying to make turnaround time 24 hours, and they gave up on that. And Gwen Shotwell said basically, if you can't do it, if you can't turn around a vehicle in 24 hours, then it's not really reuse.
And she probably meant full reuse as well.
But okay.
So yeah, that was quite an old. Oh, no name. Okay, one sec. Stop it. Door, please. Thank you. No name. I have invited you. Anyway, fuck. Let's continue.
The Falcon, they didn't really consider something to be reusable until you could just land it, put more fuel in it, and launch it again within 24 hours. Until then, it wasn't reusable. And so, according to Glenn Shotwell herself, the Falcon 9 isn't really a reusable rocket. Now, you might say, well, okay, not like that. And not in terms of price either. You know, they were promising, you know, currently a launch of this thing is whatever, $60 million. And if you reuse it, it saves about 10%. Well, you know, when SpaceX were pitching this thing originally, they were saying that, you know, if reusability really works out, they'd be looking at $6 million.
I understand. So that prediction, I think, was when they were planning to reuse the second stage as well. Second stage is about 20 million as of the SpaceX numbers. So I think the 6 million is just like, no, fairings cost like 4, don't they? So that's assuming what, 2 million for reuse, for the actual refurbishment cost. And yes, yeah, the 60 million is the price of a new booster to the customer.
Account refurbishment and recovery costs.
I had the site muted. I couldn't hear you guys. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry.
No
Could you repeat that? I was wondering. Wait, it's awfully quiet.
You're having fun talking to yourself.
28 million is listed as their all-in price for a reused launch.
Yes.
Anyway,
probably
yes.
Although for the customer, we don't have proof that it's gone below 50 million. It might have reached 40 million at one point, though. I think that is rumored.
Transporter missions are way less than 40 million, that I can tell.
Internal missions would be.
And, yeah, internal missions.
I mean transporter missions, not internal missions, which are ride-share missions, and the total cost for the customer, I mean the price, is way less than 40 million. Yeah.
They don't
I cannot say, but there are comments out there from the customers saying how cheap transporter missions are for them.
So is that something where they saw how cheap it was, calculated how much money was actually being spent in total for the mass? Although those are bringing up a few Starlink satellites, so it might be allowing it to be a little cheaper.
Transporter 1 and 2.
Okay, that's
Transporter 3 didn't carry any Starlinks. They don't need anymore. Yeah. The $6 million value there is the internal cost for them. Like just fixed costs for refurbishment, ships, recovery stuff. I think even some of the range fees and things like that. So in theory, if you reuse everything, you're basically not paying for a new second stage, a new booster, new set of fairings, So in theory, it could be as cheap as those $6 million.
Okay, yeah, I think that was including second stage reuse.
Yeah, that
was including second stage reuse.
Even Thunderfoot said that was when they were pitching it, and when they first started pitching it, they were pitching first and second stage reuse.
But these claims of $6 million were made in 2018. The initial second stage reuse was ditched. Like there was a moment in which they were just deferring it later. Then they said, no, we're not going to recover second stage. And then, it's like, no, yeah, we're going to land it on a bouncy castle or things like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Months later, he was like, no, all in with the Starship.
Yeah.
And in between those moments, it was when when he made those claims about $6 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to continue. Unless anyone has anything to add.
I'd have to see what point you're at because I've already seen the video. But
oh no, join the screen share so you can watch it with us.
yeah, I am.
Oh,
I've turned up the volume so I can hear
okay.
specifically which point.
Okay.
Can't tell by the drawing.
And maybe they save 10%. Always a bit difficult to tell because the finances of these things are, there's a lot of government subsidy that goes on with all rocket launch companies. So it's actually fairly grey.
What a pause it
even
here.
a Falcon 9.
Yeah, I'll pause it here.
Okay. So first of all, 10%. No, it's 20% if you're going from 62 million to 50 million. Second, in terms of government subsidy for the Falcon 9, the only thing I can think of is the initial COTS contract, which once you remove all the stuff for Dragon, and maybe there was some stuff for like the launches and infrastructure there, I'm not sure. The actual claim development cost for Falcon 9 was 300 mil, and if you take SpaceX's claim that they contributed about 450 mil and NASA's that they contributed about 400 mil, it winds up being NASA contributing about 140 million to the development
but
of the
who
Falcon
cares
9.
about that really at this point of the game? Like that was
And
what 130 launches ago.
Yeah, and that's it. Like if you're splitting that, if you're splitting that amongst every single government contracted Falcon 9 or Falcon Heavy launch, which has currently been contracted, it's like it splits up to about 2 million per flight. Little less than that. Maybe just for inflation, it's 2 million per flight.
I just don't know what they keep claiming that SpaceX. Oh, they got a lot of, subsidies and stuff like that. It's like that was like what 10 years ago. Who cares now?
This subsidy is like, as far as I can tell,
like for historical context, if you're talking about Falcon 9 at that moment, I can understand that, but it's like we're talking about the Falcon 9 now.
Yeah, it's not. What?
I think it's mostly, depending on who you're asking, I think it's the idea that SpaceX could, willed themselves into becoming this major launch player when in reality they had a lot of help from NASA at the start, which is where most private rocket companies failed.
Yes.
I'm thinking of my Teal Aerospace, my beloved
Kessler.
They tried to have Kessler, but they didn't meet their milestones.
Yeah.
If we're gonna claim government bodies that supported SpaceX, it was also DARPA, which was their first customer.
Yeah, the Falcon program. Yeah. DARPA Falcons.
Thunderfoot tried to justify
I just don't see that because it's there's other private companies out there that also got contracts from the government.
Again,
it's not like SpaceX is unique on this.
Well, later on, if you're talking about like Percheron, they never did. Conestoga got a few, and it didn't work.
Orbital Sciences got contracts from NASA to save Pegasus.
You can't separate Musk companies in his mind. When I was arguing with him over Falcon 9 launch prices, he pointed me to an article that had $5 billion in subsidies for Tesla.
Yeah.
And Solar
there
City.
was $195 million subsidy for Tesla or for SpaceX.
And that's what's frustrating for me in particular because, like I was saying earlier, I don't give a shit about Tesla or Solar City.
Yeah, but as far as I can tell, Falcon 9 is not heavily subsidized.
No, definitely not. No.
There is.
No.
I think there is maybe about like 300 to 400 million, which has gone towards some additional developments to Falcon Heavy, primarily the Vandenberg pad, upgrades to the
absolutely.
pad and the fairings.
Those are
here
subsidies.
To point out is that they are not the only ones. Like this is a normal thing in the industry.
Yeah,
that's the key point here.
He is pointing it out here, but if you're looking at Falcon 9, it's barely the amount that the actual initial subsidy is contributing to the overall picture is barely anything. The overall development cost.
They saved the company at the moment, but right now, if they don't get any NASA contracts, they're still making money. That's kind of the point now. Like at that moment, it made sense, to contribute from the NASA standpoint for this company to keep on going and everything because of the possibilities that they had. And well, we're seeing the results. I think Phil cannot deny the great results that we have with the Falcon 9, Cargo Dragon, Crew Dragon, you know, all the benefits for NASA. And I mean,
so I'm trying
I'm
to.
actually surprised he called it a reasonable rocket.
I think he's always called it a perfectly fine launch vehicle or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think in his mind, it's not, you know, anything special from a cost effectiveness standpoint, but it is, you know, a good rocket from a reliability standpoint.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna play it.
Okay.
Has achieved anything in the way of cost savings by reusing it, which is loads of other people have looked at reusability and it's always been kind of marginal. And that looks exactly where SpaceX has found themselves. So even though they've managed to reuse some of these boosters 10 times or something, the shuttles they reused up to like 30 times, and they were never really cost effective.
Comparing apples to Lego.
yeah.
Oh goodness, hang on.
There's a lot of various reasons as to why shuttle had cost effectiveness issues.
Yeah.
Which just aren't present.
Yeah.
Aren't present.
The thing is, the shuttle didn't have the same limitations as doesn't have the same limitations as Falcon 9 due to its reuse. To convert the space shuttle to an expendable launch vehicle, which was looked at, it's basically designing a completely different or a completely new launch vehicle, like a new orbiter.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, Falcon 9 doesn't have TPS, although Starship does.
Yeah.
Actually, it does have a thermal protection system. It doesn't have.
It does. Yeah, it
does.
It has heat shielding around the engines.
Yeah, so it has a little bit. It has a little bit of TPS, but not like.
It's not
like
tiles. No, it's not tiles. Yeah. It's not fragile like the tiles were.
Yeah, so that caused some issues with the shuttle having to carry crew every launch.
Yeah,
caused issues. Giant wings and landing gear. AJ-10s aren't particularly efficient engines.
Excuse me.
They can be. They can be.
Maybe they can be. Yeah.
They can be, but the version
efficient though.
RS-25s are my true love.
But RS-25s have some issues in regards to having to be removed between flights and.
Well, with the shuttle, that's an issue.
Yeah, and I think the turbine parts were like single crystal titanium, which they had to invent how to do that. So that costs a bit.
Yeah,
they were very complex engines in general.
Yeah.
While Falcon 9 has very simple.
Falcon 9 is so much more simple. Like you can't even compare the two.
Well, it's not simple enough. It's not simple enough.
Okay. So I'm suggesting for a new launch vehicle, we get a tube, right?
Not simple enough.
And it's a standardized tube full of solid propellant. Okay, and then what you do is you just tape a bunch of those tubes together until you can get to orbit.
Okay, you're close. You're close. Solids have problems with casting. You got to make them do that, and especially if you're not white, you're gonna be a bomb maker. So instead, you take a bunch of small tubes, put them together, put small engines, get yourself some storables, nitric acid, and diesel oil. You strap those together. Now you have a rocket.
Oh. Boring.
Excuse me?
Uchug is nothing but boring.
I am honestly really curious as to how, cheap pressure-fed rockets would do in today's market. Because
you have a couple million you'd like to spare to invest?
Okay, I'm back.
No.
God, this has not been going very smooth, I must say.
Ask Firefly.
Anyway, so point of that discussion is comparing Falcon 9 to the space shuttle isn't something you should do.
Yeah. And then there's also space shuttle SRB reuse, which is, let's get them wet and put solid fuel back in them. I'm sure that's a good idea.
Oh yeah.
Steel doesn't rust. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna play again.
Actually, you could just wash it off. Actually, Bob Truex proved you could do that. But
Shut the fuck.
But this does maybe make an interesting launching point for looking at the big boy, the Starship. Now, in some, you can see where they're sort of going with this in terms of design. You know, you take
I'm quite scared.
broad brush look at a space shuttle. So, space shuttle was basically a tube, tube,
Yeah.
and then it had some sort of wings on it, and those wings were basically to.
If you squint hard enough,
they spread the heat loading when you're coming in for re-entry, so you get more surface area, which means you don't have to have as much heat loading in the area.
Wrong.
But other than that, the space shuttle was basically a giant empty tube, and then there was a bit on the front where the people lived. So
and a bit at the back.
On the front there. So that's a layer of complexity.
Them fuel cells in the payload bay.
That things like the Falcon don't usually have to deal with, but the space shuttle was
Draws cringed.
with engines that you were going to reuse on the back, and crew compartment on the front.
It does look like Spaceship too, actually.
Yeah,
but the thing is, the
that's
empty
true.
tube didn't actually need to have any decent structural support because it was sat on.
Excuse me?
A essentially rigid wing.
What?
Say that again. I'm going to go back a bit.
But the thing is that empty
making a
tube didn't actually need.
structural argument here.
oh no,
Oh no!
what structures?
What?
That's witchcraft.
Empty tube. But the thing
Probably
is
really
that
good
empty
that you're
tube
here,
didn't
Pressure
actually
Bed.
need to have any decent structural support because it was sat on a essentially rigid wing. Yeah. Now the thing is with Starship, it's actually significantly bigger, but it's just a big empty tube. And the reason they've gone for the big empty tube, of course, is because they're very quick to make. It's basically a flying grain silo. But the problem with big empty tubes is they're fairly floppy. All of this is going to be made out of like 3mm steel.
I'm so terrified about how
4 millimeters.
how he's drawing this and then how he's talking about how big tubes are floppy. I'm very disturbed.
I like the fact that he says 3 millimeters and he hasn't even read a single label on a fucking ring from a Starship. It literally says 4 millimeters.
There's also this, there was quite a bit of structural support
too.
in the payload bay.
That's not a hollow tube.
It's basically a hollow tube, guys.
Yeah. Also all the propellant tanks on the back, on the aft section, the OMS engines. That doesn't add mass at all, right?
No, not at all. All right.
Nothing.
And at that point, you lay these things down on their side and they just collapse.
So I'm sorry. He's talking about laying them down on their side and big floppy tubes.
Yeah, because it's the same thing. It's the same thing, don't you know?
Okay, I'm gonna shut up. Let's play.
Down on it.
Jeez.
Looks like that. You lay it down and it sort of sags under its own weight. So big floppy tubes have certain problems. Now, because you've got all your engines on the bottom here, and in the middle here you've got 2 gas tanks. One with methane, one with oxygen. Doesn't really matter which one's which. The nice thing about these tanks is they are pressurized. And metal.
All these tanks are pressurized.
Good,
All tanks are pressurized.
It becomes all tense and such.
To varying degrees.
And that's because it's all being pushed out. And obviously, if you take if they have negative.
What's up?
I think you figured out. I think at this point you're figuring out exactly what argument he's going for here.
Is it
Going for the argument of the common bulkhead thing?
Is he?
Like,
Not
common sense is skeptic?
No.
I hope not.
Why is he saying floppy but pointing out that the tanks are pressurized?
He's going for the Atlas argument.
I hope not. I really hope not.
Is it the Atlas? I'm
Yeah,
not sure this.
Jesus.
Hold on. What is the Atlas argument in specific? Because I'm not.
Probably
I've seen the video already.
The balloon tank. If it
because
loses pressure,
balloon
it
tanks.
fails.
Yeah.
He's not quite going for that.
I haven't seen this yet, so we're gonna have to see. I'm not saying. I'm not gonna guess what he's trying to say. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna play it.
Pressure, they all crunch up like squeezing an empty Coke can. But when you shake up a beer can, it's full. You get lots of pressure, and it actually gets you quite a lot of structural integrity on this part, right? So, but the problem is the bit at the top here. What's going to keep all that structurally together, right? Especially seeing as
it depends for which Starship variant. For crew, obviously, it's very easy to put.
The crew. Yeah, the crew will just stand and push.
Yeah, exactly. The crew will launch holding the walls to support the structure through max Q.
Okay, that makes sense.
But stringers, interior structure, we've already seen that.
Yeah. Clowns.
At some point, this thing has to come in through the atmosphere. And because it's, done on the cheapest design possible, let's get a new one up. And the cheapest thing possible, of course, is so space shuttle. You more or less tripled the area that you had for re-entry. Re-entry, by the way, is
something that you don't know about, Phil.
And it's coming into the atmosphere. You got lots of gas molecules here, and as this hits the gas molecules, half the energy goes into the heat shield, half the energy goes into bouncing the gas molecule off, and that, of course, causes heating. And this heating gets up to, when you're coming in from orbit, this is going about Mach 22, which is, it's like 8 kilometers per second or something. And that's enough to, when you're first hitting the atmosphere, it heats this up to sort of 3,000 odd-ish Kelvin. Yeah, you're getting into the point where you're creating a plasma on the front here. And so obviously, the more area you have, the better it is for that. And yeah, this is problem one with the Starship is it's basically a tube. Right? It's got some little stubby wings, but they don't really count for anything. So if you take a look at the cross section, you take a look at now what you've got here. Well, with the space shuttle, you've got a large flat area for absorbing this. With the Starship, it's a circle. Now, what that means in practice is you've got all your gas molecules again, and as you impact these, as you're moving into the atmosphere, means you get lots of heating here. So you've got that.
Sorry, he's going for a thermal argument.
Oh, jeez.
Oh no, he's going for witchcraft.
Heating this bit here.
This is the most dumb argument, really.
So he's talking about peak heating loads then.
Well,
yeah.
By the sounds of it,
he doesn't realize. And he doesn't realize the fact that the shape of a starship, because it's rounded and it's also a big diameter, it's actually better than the shuttle because it makes the boundary layer from reentry be farther away. Because he paints that as if the molecules were just next to the vehicle, but they are far away. And the way that they heat up the right there, the way that they heat up the vehicle is precisely because of the plasma radiating the thermal energy into the vehicle. And as you can see in the upper right corner, a more roundy shape actually makes that boundary layer to be farther away and helps with the thermal management.
This is also a very good point in chat here by Steve Lightable. Because the Starship's angle of attack will be 80 degrees to 90 degrees, and the space shuttle's was like 15 to 20 degrees. 40. Was that? I don't know. So anyway, point is it's much lower.
So in terms of the amount of drag you have, probably higher in Starship.
And
Because more
there's
Yeah,
that
Starship will
surface
re-enter basically like a capsule.
Although
Just
I will
with
say,
the help of the flaps, basically.
although I will say, there's another point he's about to make where the angle attack argument does actually have an influence, but he doesn't make it.
Okay.
So
Let's have a look.
Okay.
Where if you have the same cross section of air, it's now split over all of this in terms of surface area. So you get a lot more heating here than you do here, and of course your little stubby wings, they're going to get lots of heating as well. Now the heating itself, if the heat tiles work, that's fine. But by simple virtue of the actual temperature you've got here, if you actually depressurize these tanks, like I was saying, I don't think these big, you go Starship and you just lay it down on its side, it's going to sag under its own weight.
Is it though?
No, QA, I just shared with you on Twitter a link to a photo of the nose cone section, the welding with the tank section, and it shows the stringers
where the
there
stringers have been welded.
for reinforcement.
Yeah.
So that's basically the joint between the nose cone section and the tank section.
Yeah.
This is SN9, by the way.
The only thing that gives it its structural integrity is these fuel tanks. These fuel tanks are very thin. They're like a couple of millimeters. I think they're currently 3 millimeters.
3.6 to 4 is what I've been able to find.
4 main tanks. The only section that is less than 4 millimeters is the nose cone barrel section, the cylindrical section of the nose cone barrel.
Right.
Basically.
Okay.
And you burn a hole through that.
Sorry about that.
It depressurizes and the whole thing sags. And because you need this thing to be mostly rigid, such that you actually have all your heat tiles stuck on the outside, the heat tiles are like shuttle ones. They're ceramic.
No, they aren't. No, they aren't. It's tough rock, I believe. The shuttles are much tougher than you could crush the shuttle tiles with your hand because they're basically like glass.
They're ceramic.
Glass fibers. Tough rock is different to that. I think SpaceX actually bought. I don't know what it was. That they bought a patent from NASA for that technology.
They have the tough rock thing is from the X-37B.
Toughened unipiece fibrous reinforced oxidation resistant composite. So yeah, or a tough rock.
Like those acronyms.
Although the interesting thing is that he did mention, you lose a tile and it does burn a hole, and this is actually probably a greater problem on Starship than it would be on the shuttle.
Yep, definitely.
Just because of the angle of attack.
Yes.
The lower angle attack, the shuttle allows heat tiles in front of it to absorb some of the heat if you lose one, while on Starship, the higher angle of attack doesn't allow for that.
Anyway.
But, there's not as much to knock off the tiles. Assuming that SpaceX can get
yes,
them right.
Yeah. Please figure out how to make them stop falling off. So yeah, tough rock is far stronger.
Better now.
Tough rock is far stronger than the shuttle TPS. That was my point.
And even stronger than not stronger, but like they don't break as easy as the reinforced carbon on the.
They're not as brittle
edges.
as the reinforced carbon,
Yeah.
I don't think. All right.
Yeah.
I have, of course, this is a problem with the space shuttle as well. In fact, this is what caused the problems with the space shuttle. Is
what he's talking about now.
Had your
Come on, come on.
What's that?
Tell me that's not phallic.
Oh jeez, the shape.
That, and they had damage to one of the front parts of the wing. But
okay, so can you stop that?
Yeah. Okay. So he's talking about Columbia.
It's not the right wing.
No, it's not. It was the left wing. Yeah. Anyway,
it was the left wing, and also I'm sure he doesn't even know that the leading edges of the wings had different tiles.
yeah, had different TPS.
Oh, yeah.
We will see.
Yeah, it was the reinforced carbon. Yeah,
We will see.
not the. Yeah.
Essentially, a fairly rigid body. That had to be. It flew glided. But anyway, the thing was, it was made mostly out of aluminium, and aluminium melts at about 600 degrees Celsius, or becomes distinctly soft and floppy and all that sort of thing. And so once they actually had a fairly decent sized hole in the wing, that just melted this until the whole thing just fell apart. There's another universal problem with spaceships is, can we not just make our big empty tube more rigid by putting some cross members in there like that?
Can
we not just
like in the fuel tanks?
I think he's talking about in the payload fairing.
No, surely not, right? I don't know, because
maybe he is.
This is not in the payload area. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
I think his main complaint is that the payload fairing isn't pressurized.
Something like that.
Although, to be fair, if you do have a burn through on either the fuel tanks, I mean, it's probably doomed.
Bit of an issue.
Yeah.
Just a small one. Okay.
Let's put interns in the tanks. They'll close it up.
Putting some cross members in there like that. Can we not just do that to it? And the answer is, well, yeah, you can, but it's going to cost you some weight. So if this is your launch mass of your typical spaceship, the bit that actually ends up in orbit is typically 1 to 2% for a rocket. It's tiny. Absolutely minuscule is the mass fraction that gets into orbit. So this is why rockets are so utterly marginal, even as it stands.
Wrong.
So if you can make your rocket 1% lighter, then you can double the payload that you're going to get to orbit, because you can put 1% more payload on it. But it turns out, these things are usually stripped down to the average.
What's up?
It depends on which stage, though.
Yes, yeah, it does.
Your first stage, yeah. Your first stage can eat. Your first stage can eat weight. But your second stage, or third, depending on your vehicle.
Yes, I forget the number, but I think, what was it for the first stage? 1 kilogram. Sorry, no. What am I saying?
It's like 5 kilograms losing.
Something like that. Yeah.
On the rocket too.
It depends on engines and mass margins and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's like 4 to 5ish, and then it's 1 to 1 on the about 1 to 1 on the upper stage.
Absolute bare minimum that they can actually fly with. So the idea that you're just going to start sticking in all sorts of structural reinforcements to.
Okay, let me just. I'm going to pause here. They're not going to put in. They're not going to put in cross beams or anything. The most they will do is stringers. Nothing is going across the tanks. Yeah. There are stringers in the tanks, right? I'm guessing, yes.
Yeah, there are stringers in the tanks and the payload section. Yeah.
Have we seen pictures of the insides of the tanks?
Well, I know we saw a picture of the inside of SN8's nose cone that was a little bit illegal, but I'm not sure if we have. Sorry, SN9. Yeah, I'm not sure if we've seen pictures from inside the tanks.
Yeah, there was
just in case he says.
I think it was 11. Was there 11 we saw inside the...
Oh yeah, no, yeah, the SN11's oxygen tank, but that was quite far down the bottom. They had you could see slosh baffles, but
that was the methane tank, not the LOX tank.
I thought it was the LOX tank.
But anyways, yeah, you mean the webcast view, right? That was the methane tank.
All right, yeah.
My point here is that you just gotta look at the photos of the production site. It's basically all out in the open, and you can see the stringers. You can see prior to the stringers being put on the sections, they're just like, rings stacked together and welded together, and all of that. But then you see as these parts progress on the production line, they get stringers, valves here and there. It's like it's more complicated than he paints it.
And if they don't lose pressure again, that They are pressurized, aren't they? They're autonomously pressurized, or they're going to be. At the moment, they're pressed with helium, but I think the plan is to do it with the
autogenous right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
They change back
The
from
Starship,
helium.
I'm skeptical about that, and this is all kind of built on the fact that Musk put out this tweet a day or two ago.
Oh no!
Basically,
Nothing good.
No.
Nothing good happens after the statement Musk put out this tweet. Nothing good happens after that.
Yeah.
How
Let it be a tweet from like
you
3 years ago.
Open about how are you going to open? So you got
Wait,
these
no, this
fuel
one's
tanks
like
at the
from
back
this
here,
month.
and then the bit at the
It was
front
about the payload door, I think.
is going to have it's going to open
Oh
up
boy.
like that, and then the payload is going to come out somehow.
Wait, what? No, no. He's got it wrong. He thinks the payload door is going to open sideways from one side, I think.
What?
Give,
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
give him,
I'm gonna go
give
back.
him a moment.
Okay.
Give him
I'll
a
give him a
moment.
moment.
He does say like multiple
So you
stuff.
got these fuel
Okay,
tanks at the
okay.
back here, and then the bit at the front is going to have it's going to open up like that, and then the payload is going to come out somehow. That's how it's been in all of their animations to date. And let me just say, I'm deeply skeptical about all of that because, well, yeah, when this thing has to come back in, you get some structural integrity here because this is all an inflated can. These are all under pressure, which gives you some sort of structural integrity. The bit on the front, however, doesn't. Well, unless this is actually going to be an airtight seal. And if that actually turns out to be important as an airtight seal, you know, that when this comes back in...
Oh my god, he could have edited the audio a little bit. I don't want to hear that.
Has he been drinking?
I think he might have been. Okay, we'll let him continue.
Oh jeez.
atmosphere, you have to repressurize this to give it all structural integrity. Then, yeah, this is tricky, very, very tricky. I mean, you take a look at the doors that you currently. I mean, this is just a bloody nightmare on all fronts, right? So you might be aware that you get your fridge. Yeah,
Oh god.
The classic fridge re-entry vehicle.
And the fridge is like 4 degrees Celsius inside, and it's, I don't know, 20 degrees Celsius outside.
But what's
When you close
re-entry,
the
Phil?
door
What's
on the
re-entry?
fridge,
Sorry,
it immediately becomes
what units are these?
They're normal people units.
hard to open.
Whose country's been to the
And that's
moon?
because
Mars Climate Orbiter.
when you close the door, there's a bit of warm air in there. That
One
keeps
using
the
metric units to get there.
That very small difference in pressure means that it's now very difficult to pull the door open. And these become, really significant once you get down to the cold fridges where they're at minus 30 or minus 60 or whatever. At that point, you need a little valve on the top of your fridge that you've got to open simply such that you can open the door, right? And if it's not pressure equalized on both sides, there's no way you can do it. This is some crappy little door, about the size of a human. Once you go up to these giant seals, it becomes almost impossible.
Can you stop that? I want to make an ironic comment.
What's up?
Oh, I don't understand how SpaceX can ever invent a thing that goes from the surface of the Earth into space, into a vacuum, without any kind of valve or something like he claims. Oh, I cannot. I don't know,
So,
man.
I
Can
think
someone
what he's
help me,
saying
please?
is that so his argument here seems to be that
Say
the
it's gonna be
fairing
sealed or something.
or the payload bay, if it's not pressurized, is
Yeah.
going to sag. So it has to be pressurized, and they have to seal it.
Well, he's definitely
And-
assuming it is pressurized.
Well, that's the argument he seems to be making.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead and debunk that right now, please, because that seems like something which is
Okay,
questionable.
that's easy to debunk, which is basically what happens every time. It's like Not gonna be pressurized.
Don't make me say the debunk word.
Doesn't need to be pressurized.
Stringers is probably the
Because,
argument.
hello,
that
yeah, stringers. Yeah, it's like hello, these things.
So I think, did he mention the? So I remember he was talking about how the shuttle or space shuttle Columbia had the issue. I'm trying to remember if he mentioned how it failed, because he kind of got it wrong.
Yeah, he said that the gases enter into
we can check that out
into the
later.
wing or something, which is false.
Well, I think he was saying that it burned the aluminum and broke the structure, which is not true. It burned the hydraulic lines. It lost hydraulic pressure, which caused it to go out of control, face G loads in a different direction than it was supposed to, and break apart.
Yep. That's precisely it.
Something hurts.
I don't know what the large pressurized seals are. But yeah.
Anyway, we should be clear. There's no evidence to suggest that the payload bay on the cargo version would be pressurized. It wasn't on the shuttle. The section.
It's not needed either. Yeah.
The section on the Saturn V wasn't pressurized either. The section on the Saturn V that contained the lunar module wasn't pressurized either.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Bearings leak out as they ascend. They're not perfectly airtight on purpose.
Yeah. Probably for a reason similar to this, actually.
Yeah.
That's
otherwise,
tricky.
you'd have a huge cloud of gas
Elon Musk was
expanding out
asked
of the
today,
fairing.
or yesterday, or whatever. How the doors on their Starship were going to function. Were they going to be a giant hinged sort of snap jaw type thing like that, or was it going to be more? Oops, let's not do that. Let's go a little more sensible. Was it actually going to be a sort of hatch on one part of it that sort of opens up and it all comes out? And he says, this is still a point of much debate at SpaceX, which is like, are you kidding me? You've not even thought far enough ahead as to how you're going to get these doors to open. So yeah, this for me is
okay. So it's not so much that they haven't thought about it. They have, obviously. They're just trying to pick which one is best, because both have advantages and disadvantages. The big Pac-Man style one is probably going to be okay. It has advantages for payload in that you can move more out of it. You can fit more volume. You can get more volume to fit outside of the door, to get through the door. But at the same time, that payload then has to kind of navigate its way around the big open door, and it's also the big open door
navigate the way around the payload.
Or that, and the big open door is far less structurally sound than a shuttle style door.
Yep. But then there's also
even the current one.
Yep. And then there's also kind of the smaller door.
There's the kind of half hatch.
Yeah. He doesn't even mention the shuttle style door in this. He only mentions the half hatch and the alligator hinge.
Yeah.
The one they are prototyping right now, for example, is only
it's the half hatch.
As high, like, as tall.
It's only a few barrel sections,
as the
right?
cylindrical section.
Yeah.
But the important thing here is that even with that, it's still larger than the at least the non-tapered section of the Falcon 9 fairing. So anything that can fit in Falcon 9 can totally fit just through that small, in quotes, small, because it's still
relatively small,
relatively small compared to the whole nose cone of a Starship. It's just that it's too big, then it just is deceiving to the eye. It's like,
in my opinion, the shuttle style would probably be best, and I think they might go with that one at first because of just purely for the structural reasons.
Yeah. I'm with you that that one's probably the best. I think there's a reasonable chance they go with the alligator hinge. It is possible. I'm kind of wondering if they could open the alligator hinge like much further, do like a 180-degree rotation or not.
That would be a bit freaky. But again, I don't know how they would make that structurally
Even
sound.
if
It
you
would,
can do,
it would add quite. It would add a
190, I think,
lot of
rotation.
weight just in reinforcing the nose cone. Anyway, it's going to be very interesting to see which they choose.
Yeah. But the important thing is, it's focusing on the engines and fuel tanks and size of the rocket and shape of the rocket is probably better to get first than deciding the payload fairings.
Right, I'm going to continue.
A real, one of these moments. Because I really don't see, these are things that you should have thought ahead with. I mean, I can see where they're going with this, that if we're going to make lots of these things, they need to be super cheap to make. And their sort of approach there is fair enough. The problem is that you've got very expensive engines on this, which is,
Source.
So...
What's up?
He says, very expensive engines. I need a source for that.
There is no source. Yeah, exactly.
He's just making it up.
But I do have to say, I don't think a full flow stage combustion cycle engine in any universe is going to be cheap.
Oh no.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same
the cheapest ones, of course, are pressure feds, but you know.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not going to be anywhere near the price of like an RS-25.
Well, yeah, because hydrogen's mean.
A bitch.
Yeah.
Hydrogen is a cruel mistress, right?
Yes.
I can tell you Raptor is very cheap. I cannot tell you the number, but I can tell you it's very cheap.
I mean, who knows? Who knows on how cheap
Raptors
yeah,
will be?
yeah.
You need to substantiate that next time.
I do know, but I just cannot tell. I'm sorry.
Source? I made it up.
They're saying they.
Okay,
They're saying
let's go.
No, really.
Cheap.
There's, yeah.
And they did. I mean, supposedly Merlin's pretty cheap, but you know,
Well,
Raptor.
Merlin
a lot
is
more complicated.
Merlin's largely 3D printed, no? I know they 3D print a lot of it.
No.
No?
Well, yeah.
I thought it was. It's not fully. I know it's not fully. It's not like a Rutherford.
Yeah, it's certainly not like Rutherford.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna play. Shush.
And you've economized. You've economized on the structure to make it a big empty tube, which makes it fairly floppy in certain regions. So how are you going to make this more solid? And yeah, the idea that this has to be depressurized and repressurized, that for me is, I don't think I know of anything like that. I mean, even the airlocks that they have on the International Space Station, which are some of the biggest seals like this that you get, they're only like the size of humans. Yeah. I think they get 2 people in, so they're this sort of size. So
he's talking about airlocks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these things would be absolutely colossal. So I'm not sure what they can do with that. But yeah, so this is my kind of prediction at the moment is that's going to be one of the showstoppers. And bear in mind that all of this is... Yeah, this is all meant to take us to the moon, I think, by 2020.
No, the cargo variant is not going to take us to the moon. That's a stupid non-argument.
Yeah, it would be the crude variant, and at this point, I think 2024 is out of the question.
No one, absolutely,
yeah. It's already being confirmed.
No one thinks 2024 is going to happen, sadly.
Yeah. Yeah.
The earliest predicted is 2026.
Yeah, I think
2025.
Yeah.
I think like 2025 is the optimistic timeline right now.
I agree with that.
2027 is the realistic timeline.
Yeah, and again, it just depends. Like something could go horribly wrong with HLS, or the space suits could be delayed again.
There's no congressional funding.
Or that.
There's so many different.
Don't worry about that.
different separate things which that moon mission is depending on, because it's not only Starship, it's SLS, it's Gateway, it's the spacesuits.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of various things that can get delayed, and a lot of them have been continuously getting delayed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So many failed promises.
Elon Musk was recently asked in an interview, this is going to be 2020, it is going to be 2030. Elon Musk asked in actually about 2022, it's the beginning of 2022, it's about there somewhere. Yeah, when did he think that we would be on Mars? And he said, in the best case scenario, 5 years, which is about there, and in the worst case scenario, 10. At which point, this is, he takes like 30 seconds to pause and think about it to appear thoughtful. And there is absolutely zero chance of this happening. Even if you can make the rocket, you've got to at least show that it works by launching there, which you can only do every 2 or so years.
Can you pause it there for a moment?
The idea.
Okay, my question here is, what has, what's the relation of that with Starship will fail and all the structural comments he's made before? It's like, goals not being done at the right time. That's basically the core of a space flight. It's like a property, just
I'll be honest.
by default.
I'll be honest. I could see 10 years. It's
I don't see it.
optimistic. I can't.
It's very optimistic.
Mars is not happening this decade. At best, mid 2030s, in my opinion.
Decade.
Oh fuck! It is too. Oh, you're right. Okay, sorry.
It's like 2032.
No, but I'm thinking. So there's 2031, 2033, 2035 onwards.
Yeah.
Counting the windows to Mars, all of that. But I don't think it's gonna be even the first half of the 2030s. But again, I'm gonna say something. It's gonna be way cheaper and faster than whatever other plans anyone else has. I'm gonna say that up front.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, you're not gonna get to Mars with pressure-fed engines. Just saying.
The Sea Dragon begs to differ.
We should bring back Sea Dragon. Let's do it.
All right.
But to go back what you were saying.
Let's.
Timelines. They're just timelines. It's filler. He can whine about things not being met.
He can whine all he all he wants about timelines. It doesn't matter about Starship will fail.
Well, okay. Thing is, nothing in spaceflight has been on schedule since Apollo.
That's the point. Yeah. Yeah, but my point is it's not related with anything else he said on the video, nor the topic of the video. It's just like, I'm gonna criticize something just for the sake of criticizing something. Just like, I'm sorry, I just cannot stand this guy.
Let's say it was 2021, 2026 is his optimistic timeline for getting to Mars. His original optimistic timeline for getting to Mars, I think, might have been 2022, but whatever. He says, and I think they're meant to be on the moon by 2024, and that's just not going to happen. You take a look at the mission architecture for getting to the moon. This is what they sold to NASA. Is it requires, you've got to launch the guy is going to go to the moon. Your big empty tube is going to go to the moon, and then you need to chain 6 more launches of something that is almost identical that only carries fuel, and they have to transfer.
What's up?
They said 16 launches. the depot, a lunar lander.
I
and
think
then
I think you
14
mean
tankers.
the redacted.
Oh right, excuse me.
Uh,
The redacted. That's totally not a depot.
I think
If you-
16 is like the high limit, though.
I've
Okay.
heard other things, but
It's around
Could be
I've
anywhere
heard
from
those
around
things
that.
too.
A
Yeah. In
lot
any
of
case, I'm gonna say something.
Go ahead.
If you gotta look at some company out there that can launch a lot of launches, you know, in a short amount of time, SpaceX is the company. Just saying.
the Soviet Union launched in 1967, once every 3 days. I think it was somewhere around there.
We should do that
Those
again.
Give them
Yeah.
money first.
So, Soviet Union, like the 60s, 70s, and 80s, also had a very high launch cadence.
Well, that's just
Yeah.
fucking rocket production.
yeah.
and the need for that rocket production as well. To be
Yeah.
clear.
Soyuz still has the record for like the most launches for an individual vehicle in a year.
Yeah.
I think 47.
Yeah.
Although it's possible Falcon 9 approaches or even exceeds that this year.
We'll have to see.
But I mean, who knows? We'll have to see on that one. Yeah.
I think R7 was like, at least for the R7 derived rockets, I think the maximum is 60 something in a year.
Yeah, because then you're throwing in U2, Molnia.
Yeah.
Falcon's not beating that this year.
No, not over 60 this year. No way.
Yeah,
not this year and never. I think that.
There's not the need for it to launch that much.
Yeah, not even with the Starlink missions.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many of those are Starlink?
Exactly. Right, I'm gonna play again.
For getting to the moon, this is what they sold to NASA. Is it requires you've got to launch the guy's going to go to the moon. Your big empty tube.
That's wrong as well, isn't it? He's assuming they launched the crew first.
Yeah, no crew. No, they don't want crew on board during a refueling event.
Orion.
Why?
Crews after. They really don't want crew on during a refueling event.
Yeah. They'd be so bored. Someone might smoke or vape, you know.
Exactly. We can't have that. By the way, in chat, redacted is a fuel depot. That was in the HLS document.
I kind of wonder what happened. How much fuel do you actually take to orbit if you just take a Starship and change where the internal bulkheads are so the whole thing is just fuel and oxidizer?
Oh, I once did. I did this 2 years ago. I don't remember what it was. I did. Yeah.
I mean, Super Heavy would have to return earlier, but you should get a little bit more payload to orbit, right? A little bit more fuel to orbit than you would otherwise.
Surely.
Yeah,
Maybe around 200
it depends on your trajectory, where you want to go, you know.
That's fair.
That sort of thing. And structures, of course.
Boring.
Yeah, but volume-wise, I think it works out over 2,000 tons of propellant. However much of that reaches the orbit, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna keep going.
And then you need to chain 6 more launches of something that is almost identical.
Double
that.
that.
Only carries fuel, and they have to transfer the fuel to this. And all 6 have to be successful. And if all those are successful, then this thing can bugger off to the moon. And yeah, you take a look at where they're at the moment. And yeah, the idea that you can get all this done by 2024 is absolutely delusional. Anyway, so those are my quick thoughts. 20 minutes.
By the way, the 2024 date, that's not Musk, is it? That's NASA.
Trump. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, Trump. Yeah, okay. Trump said 2024. NASA, I think, has NASA publicly said 2025 yet?
And to be fair, it also meant that the other 2 lunar lander contractors also had that goal.
Yeah, those other ones are just as unrealistic, especially the Blue Origin one. They hadn't even started development of their engine.
I mean, even the Dynetics one had negative mass margin.
I'm so fucking.
And,
I'm still
also had
still salty over
Dynetics.
Still
Dynetics
salty.
also had refueling in orbit, so it was basically like this, but a little bit smaller.
Pressure Fed, you were saying something?
What was I saying? Oh yeah, I remember reading the source selection document, the GEO report. I made a video on this.
You did.
In August. I remember when I did. Oh,
HLS gone
yes.
wrong. I remember it.
Yes. Everyone got really mad at that.
No, it really is HLS gone wrong.
Yeah.
I really wish Dynetics was not shit. I'm still salty over it. I'm still molding.
I think it's a great idea, but not a good execution.
Well, obviously not, because they have negative mass.
What were you saying?
I'll go drive by them tomorrow and shout at them and tell them you said that.
I have an idea.
Origin too, they're down the road. Yeah, I will tell them too.
I'm going to walk to Jeff Bezos's house and say, "Hey, propose a better lunar lander, you bald man," and then I'm going to slap him on his bald head. All right, let's keep going.
As to why Starship is going to crash and burn. Like I said, I mean, the majority of it is with the space shuttle, you had a rigid body that was roughly 3 times the size of the tube you were getting back. And that means that you get less G's on it. With the big empty tube, you got less surface area, and it's bigger and floppier. And I reckon those will be
not if your angle of attack.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. AOA is very, very relevant there. The shuttle, the peak G loading on the shuttle was what, like 1.5, 2 Gs? Is that right?
Yeah. And it's funny because it was actually towards the end of the part of the reentry, because at like for about 10-15 minutes at the beginning of the reentry was really low Gs.
Yes,
but
very
then,
low Gs.
As it gets lower and lower and lower,
you start hitting more atmosphere.
Yeah.
Density increases
but by then
by a
it's
lot.
like, yeah, but by then it's super, like it's much more slower than orbital velocities.
Yeah.
It's a more gradual reentry. That's why I like space planes.
Oh, I love space planes. Don't get me started on Dream Chaser.
Lead capsules, CXV, T-Space, that's what we need.
While Starship will re-enter basically like a capsule, it's just like, because it doesn't have the stable shape of the capsule, it just needs the flaps to be able to control and stabilize the re-entry.
I'm just trying to find out where he talked about Columbia. Here.
I think Common Sense made a video about that. That is.
Oh no, it's
horrible.
That's a video.
Kiwi, can you do the whole stream again? I missed most of it. Okay, we're restarting, guys. Fuck, I can't remember. Did Dynetics fix their mass problem? I know for a fact that they updated their lunar lander. I hope to God they're still working on it. I'm not sure if the negative mass was fixed. I should hope so.
I've heard rumors of that, but again, it's rumor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope they fix it and beat Blue Origin to a second contract.
Well, I just don't like that for the Blue Origin. I just don't like that it wasn't reusable. It didn't meet the sustainability criteria, and I had to have what, like 3 launches or something.
Yeah, 3 launches.
I know you can't say that and then talk about Starship, but taking Starship out of the picture because it's so unconventional, I still think Dynetics, if it didn't have its major issues, would have been the best design.
But what do you need refueling though?
But I'm not sure if the new lander did.
I know the old one. They talk about the propellant management system. They mentioned a Centaur tanker, for the system. I don't know if that was the long-term goal or the initial design.
Well, I think the initial design was to refuel it with Centaur.
Right. Okay.
So they'd have to develop that. So that's another launch, I think, at least. So.
Right.
And of course, they'd have to figure out how to modify Centaur to do that.
I'm pretty sure ULA wants to do that anyway.
For Dynetics was 1 launch for launching the lander, and then 2 for filling the tanks.
Oh, really? God. fucking.
So it was like 3 launches, yeah.
That sounds about right.
And the 2 launches also, they said ULA claimed, like in partnership with Dynetics, they were planning on doing, because ULA was saying, yeah, we can turn around the Vulcan rocket. We can do a launch like approximately a week and a half after the first launch.
Damn.
So basically launch first the lander, and once it's up there, it's basically unfueled. And now you fuel it up with those 2 fueling trips. And those 2 must be close together to, to minimize boil off.
Yeah.
And they were saying like a week and a half, we can do that with Vulcan. It's designed to be faster.
Oh, Scott Manley's just replied to me on Twitter again. This was hilarious. Did you guys see this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He blocked me too.
That was good. That was very
He's
good.
a coward.
A little bit, yeah. Ask me follow-up
probably
questions, but I'm
I've-
blocked from answering.
I've already been blocked by that guy. So.
Yeah. We're not talking about mid-course corrections. Hitting the brakes to achieve Martian orbit, a much more direct trajectory from Earth.
Which is not needed.
No,
You
that's
don't
not
need
part of the profile.
to enter orbit. Yeah.
Yeah.
That may just like that new Scott Manley tweet.
Anyway, what was I saying? I was saying something.
We were
Something
talking
about Dynetics.
Yes. Okay, yes. I think I was done. I think I was done talking about Dynetics anyway. I hope their new lander is good. That's all I want to say. And on-orbit refueling, I like it and I don't like it. I'm not a huge fan of it for crewed spaceflight, and it is worse with hydrogen because of the substantially higher boil-off. Like timing actually matters a lot more.
Yeah, I can attest to this.
But I do
And
also... Hydrogen's good and bad because obviously you can fabricate the rocket fuel very easily. But that, again, that's way down the line. If we're just talking about getting boots back... Do you mind? Sorry, my bird is screaming. I'm rambling. Okay. Who wanted to rewatch the Columbia part?
I think that was me.
Right.
I don't want to go back and see it.
All right, let's rewatch that.
Because of that explanation, which I called out.
Heat tile stuff on the outside. The heat tiles are like shuttle ones. They're ceramics of some sort. I have, yeah, of course. This is a problem with the space shuttle as well. In fact, this is what caused the problems with the space shuttle. Is what was it? You had your heat shield, which looks something like that, and they had damage to one of the front parts of the wing. But this thing was essentially a fairly rigid body. Well, it had to be. It flew, glided. But anyway, the thing was, it was made mostly out of aluminium. And aluminium melts at about 600 degrees Celsius or becomes distinctly soft and floppy and all that sort of thing. And so once they actually had a fairly decent sized hole in the wing, that just melted this until the whole thing just fell apart. There's another universal problem with spaceships is... can we not just make our big empty tube more rigid?
Right. So yeah,
that was the part I explained why it was wrong, because it was not the burn through of the structure, it was the burn through of the hydraulic fuel lines, which caused the loss of Columbia.
I mean, he doesn't exactly
actually,
have to.
The counterpoint to that is STS-27.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Heat tile and survived, and I think there were other times where they suffered heat tile damage and
yes,
landed.
no, yeah, they talked about that a lot on one of the documentaries I've watched. Can't remember which one. But yeah, no, heat tile damage of the silicon heat tiles. Sorry, are they silica or silicon? Silica, surely. Silica heat tiles. So the silica heat tiles weren't the big issue. It was the obviously with Columbia it was the carbon leading edge.
Yeah, because the higher
things
hitting
here.
rate.
And again, the real cause of that was side hefting.
Yeah. One thing I should point out, along this discussion and everything, one of the problems that the shuttle also had, for example, later on, was with the gap filler things, because they sometimes stick out for some reason, and they found out that they were having some problems during reentry because they disrupted the reentry, like the bow shock.
Right.
Like just because they were sticking
They stuck
outside
out
of
just
the
a
heat
little
shield.
bit. No, yeah, no,
and
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Because I remember
so,
after Columbia, they did an experiment with that.
Yeah. And they actually removed gap fillers on one of the return to flight missions. Like they literally took the astronaut to the back of the shuttle, and he removed gap fillers that they saw they were sticking out.
Yeah, and they did that on purpose, and that's when they also added the inspection arm. Is that right? The big long boom to inspect the TPS. Yeah.
Yeah, orbiter boom something. I don't remember the entire. Yeah, but for example, one actual criticism that I think it's valid for a Starship is the way that the tiles, like, even when they don't fall off, they seem to be very badly placed. Like you see, they are not entirely well joined together. One is higher than the other, or something like that. Like you don't see an even heat shield. I know they're getting better at that, but it's like, Jesus, it's like, you think about those problems with the shuttle, even with the gap fillers, which were like much smaller, and the airflow and everything, and it's like, this thing is not as stable because it doesn't have like the giant wings and everything, and it also has to stabilize. Like Starship re-entering is just like a big lever thing that you gotta stabilize with the flaps and everything. And if the airflow is unstable or something, geez, it's, I don't know. Like I can see that kind of criticism, for example, being more valid than what he's talking about. To be honest,
it's probably going to take him a few Starship prototypes to get one to survive re-entry.
Oh yeah, no, I don't have a lot of faith for whatever the first orbital launch is.
It's not impossible, but
it could
it's
happen,
gonna take a few tries. Yeah.
Tiles, I see. Other than regulation, I see as the biggest engineering problem.
Yeah. The control. I don't have any problems with because we're already seeing that with the control of the flaps. Once they're out of the plasma phase, we've already seen that, right? We've already seen the ship controls.
Yeah. The controls work fine in atmosphere when it's
like I think here once it's out of the plasma phase.
I love the tempering. That's awesome.
Yeah. And now it basically falls straight.
Yeah.
Like, that's what a capsule does. When it has dropped most of the horizontal velocity, it just comes down as a brick. Deploys the parachutes and bloop.
Yeah.
In the case of a Starship, it's just gonna be, all the way down and then relight and flip.
I gotta say, this wasn't a very good video. I don't know if Thunderfoot was drunk. Maybe I should.
But at least it's.
I like the fact that one of the comments is about a Model 3 or something.
You know, I will give it credit though. It's not as. There's a far different tone with his voice of Thunder videos than there is with his normal videos.
Yeah, well, these are obviously. It's kind of like what we're doing now, where we're just kind of talking and rambling.
Yeah.
It's not obviously. It's not
a little bit more half-assed.
Yeah. With the normal videos, there's like a lot of smugness to them.
Yeah.
Well, getting a lot wrong. Well, with this, it's a little more direct. It's like, okay, I do think he's wrong about a lot of points here, but
God, I hate how much I see Elon's face when I go onto this channel. It's really annoying. Okay, this video is what I was talking about. This one, this Apollo 13 one. This was incredible. It was very, very good, very in-depth. It was like a documentary. But then you get to the SpaceX ones and it's just awful.
And yet I'm not gonna watch any video, to be honest.
No, but these SpaceX ones, they're just frustrating. I probably won't cover them on this live stream. I've already been going for like an hour and a half. I might do them another time just for fun. But
funny thing is that because of his political views, he probably thinks that whatever we are or something is just like, oh, you believe in this, you like ex-politician or something. Like, I've seen that a lot with people that defend him, and it's like, Jesus, it's like, come on.
I have burp now.
lovely. These videos are very good.
7 games.
Oh my god, this was okay. So these videos were more about the Gamergate era, and I don't think Thunderfoot has ever addressed it. You know how we made like 1 billion videos on Anissa Sarkeesian, borderline harassed her. And, yeah, Dragon Heavy. That's my favorite.
Dragon Heavy.
Dragon Heavy.
This is SpaceX facing bankruptcy.
We strapped 3 Dragon capsules together.
Oh yeah, that's how we do it. Oh, what's the T?
You know, I used to get so mad about the whole, oh yeah, the DCX to Falcon 9 thing, and now I'm like, you know what, let's just burn everything down. Mercury Redstone 1 was the first rocket to perform a vertical landing. DCX doesn't deserve the credit. Mercury Redstone 1 does.
Oh my god.
I swear there are some V2s that might have had issues. They go up and come back down, but
Oh, that's possible too.
yeah. I'll go dig up Von Braun. He's near me. I'll go dig him up and ask.
Okay, what are they yakking about now?
Trajectory looks like. Obviously, I'm blocked by. I'm guessing that's BS exposed.
They don't know anything about physics. What they are? They are the ones that are saying, oh, because you cannot do something with the thrusters or whatever.
ESG Hound, in my opinion, has had the biggest redemption arc ever. They've gone from like someone who I considered to be like on the same level as Common Sense Skeptic.
It's astonishing.
Sorry.
I think he's just a little bit
to being blocked by Common Sense Skeptic for defending me.
Rotational was a good redemption arc too.
What's happened with Rotational? I didn't know much about that.
I think he just disappeared. I don't know. When he realized that a common bulkhead wasn't the end of the world.
I mean, if it was the end of the world, how many rockets would we have lost by now?
Well, how many Atlases have there been?
Yeah,
90 something. Atlas 5s.
Saturn 5.
That's only 5.
That's all Atlases.
All Atlases, lots.
So all Atlas, all Thor Delta. You lose all the Saturns. Titan 2 had separate tanks. Titan 3 obviously had separate tanks. Well, Titan 3E, you'd lose that one because it's got Centaur.
Man, I really wish I could have. I kind of wish that either Titan 3 or Titan 4 was still flying and that you could go and see one.
That'll be exciting.
They will be launching from Pad 40 and 4E.
Like of old rockets,
So,
I don't even particularly care that I miss Saturn V or Shuttle in terms of, never getting to see them. But it's like, I really, really, really want to have seen either one of the Titan 3s with the 2 solids on the side or a Titan 4.
Well, there is one Titan 4 left. It's at the Air Force Museum. You wanna go up there and steal it?
Launch it.
Yeah, steal it and launch it. No one will notice. It's not that big,
I think I think for rockets, like Titan looks bigger than it actually is. It's weird.
Yes, yes, that is true.
Well, it's got really high propellant density. That's why.
I love a bit of hypergolics. I love hydrazine in my breakfast cereal.
Yeah, it smells like fish and gives you cancer.
Just like regular fish.
Cancer. Tangy.
Okay, I'm probably gonna head out now that we've done that. I don't want this to be another Common Sense Skeptic stream where I ended up going for like 4 hours.
All right.
So I think
I don't care.
I think I will say farewell. Blue's gone as well. So I had to leave before the audio got too bad. Okay, well, thank you for watching, everyone. Give me all of your money. I hate you. And goodbye.